Back to Key Point here on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92. Gentlemen.
Why did you come for?
Oh, Nana.
Yes. You did it.
It's okay. We're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and DSTV channel 279, all across the world on 3news.com. Now, in fact, there are a number of messages on this matter which I'll deal with, but just in a minute, so that I'll just have.
Is asking that His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has it demonstrated his preparedness to return to govern better. He has done that because, for instance, in the agri sector during his time, we revolutionized production of cocoa. So much so that even roads leading to the cocoa areas were specially treated under the Cocoa Road Project. This government has come to abandon that. We moved cocoa production from 700,000 metric tons to nearly 1 million by the beginning of 2017. Today, it's plummeted.
No, but Kufuor left about 1.1 million.
Yes. So for 8 years, if it plummeted, he's improved it to about 1 million. That's better. But now it's plummeted to nearly 450,000 metric tons, more than by half, with over 600 million investment. Now, His Excellency is saying that he will come with big push. The big push agenda by way of policy is to revolutionize even trading, manufacturing, and the agri sector. So he should come and team up with us, and let's move the country forward.
The man has already put out a complete development agenda. The complete plan. And you don't even have a plan.
We have. Come and team up with us.
Let's also have
team up with us.
Thank you, gentlemen. Now, rounding up on this, I mean, in the end, it's just about what has to be done going forward.
Yeah.
Because if this is the harvesting season, I can imagine how the lean season will look like for all of us. That's my concern right now. So what should be done going forward?
Well, let me say that I believe it's not in all things that we have short-term solutions. There are some things you cannot do much. You need to just go through the thing. Where we have reached in our agricultural production, nothing can be done in the short term from now until the end of the year. But the most disturbing thing is this. If you look at the 16 regions, out of the 16 regions, 13 regions are experiencing galamsey. Now, what we have done to ourselves as a country is that we have shut ourselves out of the ability to construct irrigation dams. When you see every irrigation dam is constructed on a river way, and all the rivers are polluted. You see, so if you go in there, in the 13 regions, and you want to even construct, you have all your millions of dollars to construct your irrigation dam. You construct that irrigation dam, and it will be filled up with what? Galamsey water, which is not good for agricultural purpose.
Okay.
Just recently, we were told by Cocoa Board that they had a loan of 250 million from African Development Bank to irrigate cocoa production, and that would have been another push up in cocoa production, whereby we don't depend on only the rain. Unfortunately, when they asked the Ghana Irrigation Development Authority to do the checks, they said no, the waters cannot be used. So they had to return that loan, 250 million. Now, that is the most painful thing. And once you don't have rivers, vegetable production is going to go down completely because vegetables are very sensitive. And you must use water close to the one that you drink. And we those in the cities, sometimes we cherish vegetables coming from the villages than in the cities. We believe that maybe they may use dirty gutter waters to water the vegetables here. Today, it's no more the case because even the vegetables that are coming from the rural areas are also polluted with galamsey water.
Right.
And there are some farmers who completely stop. So you see that going forward, what government can do is there is no commitment today. And I'm not sure, maybe I've not heard, whether government is even talking about stopping galamsey.
Okay.
They are not talking about it.
I see.
Whether there's even a concrete plan on ground to stop that. So any party that seeks to rule us must be able to tell us how they are going to deal with the Galamsey menace, and that they will not even participate in Galamsey themselves.
Well, Mr. Karawe, thank you very much. He's a General Secretary of the General Agricultural Workers Union. And we'll go on the telephone shortly and speak to Daniel Demelovo, former Auditor General of the Republic of Ghana. And this conversation actually leads us into the next, which is about the Afrobarometer survey and the fight against corruption, because there are a number of elements of corruption that we all made reference to in this issue of, for instance, plotting for food and jobs and the lack of accountability. Now, if you look at the Afrobarometer survey, and we'll put portions of the Afrobarometer survey on the screen in a bit, that you'll follow quite closely. You have a number of respondents, a reduction of it, saying the belief in democracy going down. And in fact, 67% of Africans believe their governments are failing in the fight against corruption. And then also, if you narrow it down to the Ghanaian perspective, you have 9 in every 10 Ghanaians also making the point about the country heading towards the wrong direction. We'll put those on the screen in a bit. Also, when we talk about the voices of young people, voices of African youth are not fully represented in the policy-making process. That's what you see on the screen there. Support for democracy, there was a decline by 6% over the last, they are doing a decade-long analysis, so from 2012 to 2022, from 82% to 76%. A rejection of military dropped by 18%, meaning that a lot more people now even thinking about the whole idea of a military takeover. That's on the African continent, not just specific to Ghana. Satisfaction with democracy also reduced by 23%, from 74 to 51%, meaning that a lot more people are not satisfied with the outcomes of democracy that we are getting. And Mr. Daniel Demelovo is joining us. Good morning to you, Mr. Demelovo. Thank you for joining us here on Key Point.
Good morning, and how are you?
I'm well, thank you, and I hope you're doing well too.
Yes, I am fine.
Now, this outcome of the Afrobarometer survey, certainly from where you sit, not surprising, what you would say about the people's level of disappointment with the outcomes of democracy?
Yeah, I think I can agree with people because if you are doing something and you are not getting the necessary results, then it means you may have to lose confidence in it. So if people are losing confidence, it's because we are not getting the fruits or the benefits of the democracy.
I see. And there was also a bit about the fight against... Hello, sir.
I'm listening, yes.
On the fight against corruption, and that's what we're putting on the screen right now. In fact, there are the number of respondents who indicated that 77% believe corruption has increased. 75% believe corruption exists at the presidency, and 55% believe all persons at the presidency are corrupt. Does this have any touch of reality? Do you believe in this?
Yeah. You see, they say that if the fish will get rotten, it starts from the top. And again, in public financial management, they say it comes at the top and drizzles at the bottom. All the key decisions or policy decisions emanate from the presidency. So if the presidency is not in support or do not want corruption, they will create an environment where corruption cannot thrive. So if corruption is thriving or becoming worse, then I can agree with the position that the people have, that the presidency is itself corrupt. Because if the presidency is not involved in the corruption, they will not wait or sit aloof for it to thrive here.
But every time such surveys and, Afrobarometer, CDD's survey, and then the likes of even Global Info Analytics all come out with these surveys. The reaction is that these are, for instance, the perception index, and then also what the Ghana Integrity Initiative does. They say it's about perception and people's opinion, and no touch of reality. That's the position that government takes.
I know, but why is the perception rather not that they are not corrupt? Why is the perception that they are corrupt instead of they are not being corrupt? And are they saying that we don't read from the newspapers, we don't listen to the radio, we don't see the Auditor General's report, which are all full of corrupt or evidence of corruption? So I don't think that this is just a matter of perception. It is reality. When the actual corruption index was also conducted, didn't it point to the same thing? Are you able to take the newspapers of a week or listen to the press for 2 or 3 days and issues of corruption are not there? So, well, they can decide to play the ostrich and say it is perception. But it is true, we are told that about 12 million was paid for Parogu Dam, for which no work has been done or commenced. Is it not true? Are we not told by the Auditor General that about $2 million have been paid for SkyTrain, which does not exist? Are we not aware of the Auditor General's report on the COVID-19 and the issues raised in there, and they call this perception? Well, if it is still perception, then I don't know what will be reality.
I see. But the president, anytime this comes up, has always maintained that he has done well in the fight against corruption. I want us to play, and Mr. Damalovo, kindly listen to what the president says about his fight against corruption and his investment in the fight against corruption in this country, how he has gone about it, reason why he disagrees with you when you say that he has not done well in the fight against corruption. Take a look.
Every single alleged act of corruption leveled against any of my appointees has been investigated by independent bodies. It is not my job to clear or convict any person accused of wrongdoing, despite the effort of some to tag me as a clearing agent. That is the job of the courts and the law enforcement agency. Mindful of the enormity of the task in evaluating anti-corruption interventions, strategies and action plans, an evaluation team of diverse expertise, including those in political science, economics, communication, and gender, has been constituted to evaluate the major NACA.
So that's the president, Mr. Damalovo. He says, well, whatever allegation of corruption against persons within the presidency whom this survey's respondents say are corrupt, he's referred it to the appropriate agencies to investigate. So, well, that's what he has had to do. Would you have expected anything more than that?
So is that what he meant by I'll protect the public purse? When he was shouting, I'll protect the public purse? All that he was going to do is to refer the cases and even tell the people accused of the corruption that we know after the investigation your integrity will be intact. And I heard him saying that it is not his job. Was it the job of the other presidents when he was shouting that people were corrupt, or the presidents who were corrupt? So this double standard, I don't want to be part of it. The truth of the matter is that the verdict comes from the people, and people say things are not going well. I think a true leader, what you do is to respect the views of the people and say, oh, sorry, I thought I was doing my best. But given your position, I'll do 1, 2, 3 to arrest or correct the situation instead of claiming that, no, I've done my best. Haven't you seen that if you look at the corruption perception index, we are stagnated at a failure zone? Is that the best thing to do? Even if you stagnate at a pass zone, you will say, okay, but the level we are failed. It is a failure zone. So if he thinks he's fighting to the best of his knowledge, that is his verdict. But the verdict of the people, I think, supersedes that of his individual position.
I see. Now, what would be your own assessment of the president's fight against corruption, as against what he said?
is very dismal. He's not fighting corruption. You see, one of the things that the president fails to know or to understand is the fact that, yes, I for one, I'll credit him for establishing or financing anti-corruption institutions. But that is just a small aspect of corruption, the fight against corruption. It is when you create the environment where people know that there are going to be consequences from his behavior. So anybody who crosses the red line will be hit. That is what creates the deterrence. As it is now, we are being told people who are high in government, they die, and we are told how they are able to acquire state properties and even win it out. We are being told the millions that they have in their accounts. And he doesn't talk about it, he doesn't say anything, and just tell us it is perception. Well, I think that he can be more proactive to find out how many of the existing appointees have government property. How many of the existing political office holders or even public servants have acquired state land and state assets and etc. at what cost? If he is able to do that and retrieve these items, then we will say that this man is seriously fighting corruption, but not to just play the ostrich. I believe that he knows that the 30 million Ghanaian verdict is definitely superior to his individual position. Thank you.
I see. Well, but and going forward, if we talk about the right things being done in the fight against corruption, what do you expect that is not being done now? Quickly.
What I expect is that it doesn't matter who is involved in the corruption, the same thing should be done. There must be consequences for corruption. We must make the anti-corruption institutions independent and strong. We must take corrective measures. When the Auditor General comes with his report, which is full of corruption and corruption-related issues, actions must be taken. In fact, actually, the Public Financial Management Act requires the Attorney General to provide a status update on how he has dealt with issues raised in the Auditor General's report. We need to see that report. He's supposed to submit it to Parliament and copy the Auditor General and some other people. That is what will let us know that, yes, government is doing something about corruption, and that is what I expect that the government does about corruption.
And your verdict is that the president's fight against corruption has been abysmal?
Very, yeah.
Same. So, Domalovo, appreciate your time. And maybe in 30 seconds, what do you mean by commercializing the fight against corruption? What should that be done?
Well, first and foremost, corruption affects all of us, even including the corrupt. It creates a problem for the entire society. And I think, given what has happened over the years, we can't trust the government in the fight for corruption. So they should mandate individuals or firms who will be registered or permitted by the Attorney General, because he has that mandate under Article 88. Permit them to say, look, you have been licensed, you can investigate and prosecute corruption. So that does not become a burden of the government. The only motivation for these individuals and firms is that if you are able to recover the money, maybe 10 or 20% of the proceeds that we have recovered will be given to you. So it becomes a situation where nobody is safe, because the fact that you are my friend and I will not investigate you does not exclude the next person or person from investigating you. I think if we go that way, people will live their lives earning money out of fighting corruption, and the deterrence that we are looking for will be at the peak or maximum. Thank you.
Would you support the call that anybody seeking our mandate should go beyond just the asset declaration that we cannot see to the public or the publication of the assets that they own?
Exactly. Until we do that, actually the declaration is useless, because the Auditor General is not God. So if we have about 50 to 60,000 government officials who have to declare their assets to the Auditor General, how on earth will he know that the declaration is complete or accurate? So the check is when you have to publish it, because people know how many houses maybe Mr. A has in Accra. So if he publishes and there's a house which is not in there, then people can say, we know this house belongs to him. and he didn't include it. And of course, the liabilities as well. That is the most important one because it's very difficult for you to know somebody's debt or liability. But then the commercial banks or the lenders who gave the money to the Fed will see it and say, but my debt is not in here. So that is how we check the assets and liabilities declaration and make it more effective. Instead of just keeping it in the office of the Auditor General, which is not accessible to anybody unless there is a litigation and the court request for it. So the publication of it is very key. Two, the verification of sales is also very key. If we don't verify the assets and liabilities declared, people can make anticipatory declarations. When he is appointed the chief executive or the minister of whatever organization, he may say that, well, as a piece of a plot which I intend putting a 5-story building on. So he declares or she declares it as the asset he or she has because not verified. By the time she or he is leaving office, if she has that 5-story building on the land and you challenge it, you only say, bring my first declaration and compare to my second declaration. So verification is very important and it must be there. Ironically, if you are aware of the PNDC law, which talks about political parties and public office holders in 1992, that law actually provides for the things we are asking for today, that it should be made public.
Okay. Mr. Damelovo, appreciate your time and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, too. All right.
Thank you. Daniel Yao Damelovo is former Auditor General. Touch on a number of things. We'll go for this quick break. When we're back, I guess in studio we'll have their take on some of the issues that Daniel Damelovo talked about. And let me go straight to Lawyer Martin Pebo. It certainly cannot be business as usual, right? With how things are playing out. You say that whoever would support the publication and verification of the assets of himself and his appointees, any flag bearer will do that. How's your vote?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Public declaration.
Yes.
You
It's
all
not
need to know what you own.
Yes.
And what your appointees own.
Yes, we have to publish because the corruption, and the corruption affects even the economics. So the whole of the economics, when you have corrupt leaders, it affects how the economy is run. Like this current situation. Yeah, because corruption is high, economics, the principles are not allowed to work because it's family and friends business. So if you tackle corruption, you give fresh oxygen to public officers to be able to work. Because, of course, some of the public officers themselves, they are enablers in the corruption. It's usually a syndicate. Yes, you have the civil servants join in and other public servants, etc. So when we tackle it wholesale, then it will improve the economics. Because, you see, with corruption, when it comes to even procurement, they'll rig. They'll rig the thing and give their favorites because there are various ways of going about the rigging. They'll do single source. When MPP was in opposition, then Gabi said that single source procurement is thievery. Single source is thievery. Single source procurement, or we usually say sole sourcing, is thievery. But they came into government and they are doing the same thing. So it affects the economics. So we need an asset declaration law that makes sure that the assets of all these public officers, those in that category, are published and preferably online, so that, like I usually like to say, people in Navrongo, people in Boko, people in Axim, wherever, all parts of this country, at the click of a button on their computer, they can check the assets of a certain public officer they know, okay, to check if what is being published online tallies with what they know in their community, right? So that any discrepancies, then they can report. So we need this law. The last time the president promised a world-class law. That was in September 2023 at the Bar Conference, right? That was in Cape Coast.
Yes.
Almost 1 year on. We haven't heard anything. The last time I heard it, the Attorney General said he was in charge of the bill. Well, the Attorney General we don't want to receive a bill from. The Attorney General who should have resigned by now. So the President needs to constitute somebody else. Is it any surprise that the Attorney General hasn't brought out the bill? Is it any surprise? Yeah.
So that's the conduct of public officers?
Yes. The Attorney General said he was working on it. You see, he's been pussyfooting because now practically we will not get that law because ask Honorable Dafemepo, they are also going on break like the lawyers. Honorable, you are coming back in October, right?
Yes.
Right. So you see, practically, Akufo-Addo is denying us the code of conduct for public.
It's
Exactly. So, and that's why I'm peeved at the IMF that the bill wasn't taken into consideration in this second review, but the Bank of Ghana one was taken. How do you take the Bank of Ghana one and leave the code of conduct for public officers? Because this one is more wide-ranging. And so you see how the complicity of the IMF, they will tell you that IMF, this Bretton Woods institution, they are also a great part of our problems. They've never wished us well. If they did, Ghana wouldn't be here. No, it's not only Ghana. All these African countries, these Bretton Woods institutions, that's the same way they are. They'll pretend to help us, but in the end, they do very little.
But they also say that they are there.
That's how come
we go to them to go and beg.
No, but it belongs. So, the Western world developed on our forefathers slavery. They developed on our resources, slave trade, gold, etc. So they owe us.
Well, the issue is that let's manage our resources well, and so that we will not go there again the 18th time. We are there for the 17th time. There are many who believe that this may not be the end.
Absolutely. That one is clear.
Honorable, please. It certainly cannot be business as usual. Fight against corruption.
Yes, of course, because
we've done this so many times.
For instance, a government that cannot account for 500 excavators that they took from Galamsey is such a scandalous matter. I keep saying that excavators are monstrous machines. But today, Parliament has been asking the government that in your so-called declared policy of fighting galamseys, for which monies were expended on that operation, and you took away people's machines from illegal mining sites and brought them to Accra, where are the 500 excavators? Where are they? Where are they? That is why you see that the perception of rejecting the military for interfering in politics has dwindled from 86% to 68%. That is, it means we are moving towards a parity. When it is 50%, it means half of the people think that it is okay for the military to take over. It's a dangerous thing for our democracy to try. Look, this government will pay, for instance, $11.9 million for no work done on Pualugu Dam.
Right.
The dam site is empty, and yet nearly $12 million is gone down the drain. When you ask them to account, they cannot. And in law, we do what we call quantum merit basis. You pay people for the work that they've done. No work has been done, and yet we've given money. $2 million, a certain SkyTrain project. We paid $2 million.
So, Public Accounts Committee, what are you doing?
400 tricycles disappeared.
Yes, in the northern region.
So tricycles like they give fouls.
Hold on.
Okay.
These matters are contained in the public accounts report. That is the point I'm making.
Okay.
These are not matters that I'm whimsically conjuring. These are matters that the Auditor General of the Republic of Ghana has gone into and determined the figures. And we are asking government to ask the entities to account or hold the officers who in those capacities have dissipated public funds in this manner. They won't do it. So the government must go for Excellency John Dramani Mahama to come and look into the books.
Will you support
Alhaji Dr. Bawumia can certainly not look into the books of President Nana Akufo-Addo.
Will you support the public declaration of assets?
Why not? I am willing. In fact, there's nowhere in the law that bars declaration. I'm saying we are being timid.
Okay.
We are being timid from publicizing the details. The law doesn't ban publication. So why is it that we are unable to publicize it?
Right.
You understand? So I am for publication any day.
Okay.
And the law requires that when you enter the office, you declare. When you are exiting, you declare. So people can measure what you got in the course of occupying that office. That is the test. So if you don't publicize, how are people able to measure?
Well, thank you. Nelson Roxon Dafia-Amepo is Member of Parliament for the South Dye constituency, also a member of the Public Accounts Committee of Parliament, and
now
then also
yes.